Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. So today I'm going to be sharing with you the products that I have in my collection that I think are the most underrated, that you barely ever hear anyone talking about, that no one seems to know how good they are, and I want to change that today. So I'm going to be shouting about products that rarely get shouted about. But before we do that, today's question of the day is from the beautiful Leah, who asks, will you return to the job you had outside of the home when the virus is tamed and children go back to school? Will it still be available? Thank you, Leah, for your question. It's a really tricky one to answer, honestly. So prior to all of 2020 happening, my intention this year was to try to go back to being employed, either full-time or certainly, you know, 3 or 4 days a week. Last year and most of 2018 as well, I was working as a contractor. I was made redundant after my second maternity leave because the sport that I was working with, for those of you who don't know, I work with Olympic sport, that's my job. I'm a lifestyle advisor, so I advise athletes on their future, on their life outside of sport, such as education, career development, areas of their life, such as that. And I support athletes to do that outside of their training or around their training and competitive schedules. So that's my job. And I was made redundant because one of the sport that I was working with relocated to a place where I could not travel to every single day. It was much too far. So yeah, so I lost that contract, and then since then I've just been doing that job, but on a contract basis wherever I can pick up contracts here and there, so very sporadic. And I wanted this year to get back into an employed status within that job, so it's something, you know, more regular. I can kind of schedule my weeks better around the children, things like that, and something just a bit more reliable than contracts that kind of come and go. Obviously then coronavirus happened, and obviously I can't pick up contracts. I can't work at all outside of the home. The truth is, I just have no idea what this is going to look like post-corona. So do I think there's going to be lots of contracts available for me once we are actually allowed to go out and work in that type of job? No, I don't think there is. Obviously, sport, like lots of businesses, has been heavily affected. The Olympics has already been postponed until next year. I'm not even fully confident that I can see that going ahead, or certainly not as we know the Olympics normally go ahead. So do I think lots of sports are going to be hiring in the next year or so? No, I don't. Do I think lots of contracts are going to be available? No, I don't. So I would love to return to that job. I have wanted to since I left it, I suppose, and I've certainly wanted to be employed back in that job on a more regular, steady basis. But do I think that's necessarily realistic in the near future? I sadly don't, but it's very much unknown for me, like I guess lots of you. So I'm just kind of playing it by ear, and we'll see when we get there. So back to makeup. So today's makeup, like we said, underrated products. And one of the most underrated products I feel I have in my collection is the Lancome Skin Feels Good. Now this is like a skin tint. It's a tinted moisturizer, something, you know, that fits in that box. I did my favorites of that type of product a little while ago, and this was numero uno. I feel so many people don't know about this, and I know whenever I do these videos someone is always going to say, well, that's not underrated, I hear these 3 people talking about this, but I certainly do not see this getting the credit that it deserves. Put it that way, it should be everywhere. Everyone should be using this. This should be everybody's #1 product in that category, or it certainly should be getting more hype. Possibly the reason it does is because I feel Lancome in general is an underrated brand. You know, they have some amazing products, but I feel like lots of people don't know about them, and that the brand itself is kind of low key. So maybe that's why it doesn't have the greatest shade range, but then again, being a skin tint, you know, this certainly, when you see it in here, it's so dark for me. When I put it on initially, it's always a bit terrifying, but it blends seamlessly into the skin and really does end up working and looking beautiful. But I feel like that might be putting some people off. Maybe they don't realise how adaptable the shades are. I don't know, maybe they feel like this won't work for their skin type, because I am normal skin, but I do lean towards the oilier side as opposed to leaning to the dry side, to the dark side. But it, for me, of all of these types of products, wears so well under very extreme conditions, hot weather, etc. It works beautifully and wears beautifully. So I feel like this needs a lot more attention from people. Next up, the only other foundation I have in this video that I've picked today is the Benefit Hello Happy. This is the Flawless Brightening version. There are several different Hello Happy foundations from Benefit. This is the Flawless Brightening Hello Happy SPF 15. This is the mini, this isn't it, this isn't the whole one. This is a mini version I picked up for review purposes when it first came out. I wore this again the other day because I'd just forgotten all about it, and I think I bought it in my summer shade, and so I haven't been using it in the winter. And I put it on the other day and I was like, this is so underrated. I haven't seen or heard anybody anywhere on YouTube talking about this or using this. It's a beautiful foundation. Again, likely to be a victim of its poor shade range. I think there's 12 shades. They're fairly well spread out. So there are sort of, although there's only 12, it's a very small number, there are like 3 light, 3 medium, 3 tan, 3 deep. So it is better than it sounds like it is for the number. But yes, a very limited shade range. So that may be why it doesn't get more attention. The second reason being, I think Benefit has never really nailed it out the park with the foundation. I think a lot of people underestimate them. For that reason, when it comes to base products, you know, foundation, concealers, powders, they're not massively known for those products. They're more so known for cheek products, you know, bronzers, blushes, highlights, and then of course brows and lashes. I think people skip them when it comes to base products because they haven't had one that's really taken off and got a lot of support. This one is definitely worth trying in my book. If you love that natural, your skin but better, glowy, dewy foundation with a good amount, like a medium coverage, that's going to wear pretty well for, you know, 6 to 8 hours, definitely give this one a try if you can get a good shade. It just smells kind of like fresh skincare-y scent. But yeah, I really enjoy this. I think it looks very smoothing, feels very nice, light and hydrating, and more people should be talking about it. Next up, an eyeshadow palette. And I know I've said that I believe this is underrated before, but it's worth mentioning again. And this is the ABH by Carli Bybel palette. Hair that is mine. I'm so sorry. This is, I feel like, ABH's most underrated palette. It is everywhere at a bargain price because I guess it was so underrated. I think its problem, like I said before, is that ABH kind of had a strange marketing strategy going on last year where they released lots and lots of palettes one after the other, and then they also released the whole Norvina brand of spin-off larger palettes, and this one I feel like it just got drowned in the middle and not spoken about, which is such a shame because I think it's so underrated. It's become one of my absolute favourite ABH palettes. It's probably my second favourite ABH palette after Original Norvina. You guys know that's my favourite. That's the one I've got on today. This palette would be a close second to that, and I just think it's gloriously beautiful. It's different, it's more unique against her other palettes. If you look at Modern Renaissance, Soft Glam, Sultry, this is a totally different theme and vibe. It's much brighter, it's much more summer, it's much more sort of every day as far, instead of like your classic smoky eye, it's much more spring summer. I feel like it's wearable all year round, but it screams spring and summer to me. But then these shades here are kind of typical winter, Christmas, New Year's. It's very, very versatile is what I'm saying to you. I think it's glorious and very, very underrated, and that's why it's ended up being reduced everywhere, because for whatever reason it just didn't take off. But I think that might be the reason why, is it just got drowned in the 48 other ABH releases. But if you can get this at a bargain price, it is really a steal and such a lovely palette. Next up, something from Huda Beauty, and these are her Demi matte, I want to say liquid lipsticks, but that has negative connotations for lots of people, including me. It's not a liquid lipstick that dries down. It's more of a sort of cream lipstick, let's say. So these are tingly, you know, it's got that sort of minty tingly plumping type of lipstick. They are a liquid and they go on shiny. You can blot them to make them matte, but they do not dry down and set and, you know, ruin your life. They don't do that. They don't start cracking. They don't start drying out your lips. They don't make your lips flake and make you regret ever putting lipstick on in the first place. They are so flattering. They have full opaque coverage. They are really easy to apply. They give you a really nice full juicy lip. They're super comfortable. They smell delightful. They feel delightful on the lips. One thing I don't like about these is a lot of the shades look identical to each other, and I'm going to show you the 3 I have so you can see what I mean. So this is the shade Day Slayer, and then we have Shero, is that right? Shero and Feminist. So as you can see, they all look pretty similar, don't they? Everyday nude, darker nude shades, which is what Huda tends to do with her lipsticks. She does tend to put out a lot of shades that are this darker, you know, lend themselves more to like Huda's skin tone, which is more of a sort of medium to tan skin tone. She doesn't really cater very well to fair skins when it comes to lip products, I feel. That may be why lots of people haven't cottoned on to these. There are lots of other shades, but these are kind of the everyday shades that I own. They're some of my favorite lipsticks for like everyday, day to day. They're long wearing, they stay on the lips, they look super juicy and flattering on more mature lips. If you have lines and things, they won't soak into them, they don't bleed, they're not really like drying. I just love this formula, and I think more people should give them a try because they are lovely. Super plumping as well, which is really nice for, you know, getting rid of lines and just making your lips look younger and fuller. Absolutely brilliant. I really love those. Next up, the most boring product of all, and this is an eyebrow pencil. This is from KVD Beauty. Now we all know why this is underrated, because nobody wanted to buy anything with that person's name on it, but guess what? Their name is no longer on it, so we're now able to use that brand again if you choose and if you can, you know, forget. But yeah, so this is my absolute favourite when it comes to a brow pencil. It has a very unique shape and size to it. It is absolutely minuscule. That's it on its side. Can you see how thin that is? And on the other side, it's completely flat. It is so small. I find it perfect for getting hair stroke. Can you just see here, I've just done some super fine hair-like strokes. It's perfect for creating these type of hairs. The formula of this pencil is much sort of firmer and harder and less soft, obviously. Less soft and less smudgy than a lot of pencils I've tried, and I find it hard to work with, say, Benefit's Goof Proof, that's very soft and it kind of makes the lines all smudged together and it gives me more of a bold brow than I'm looking for. This just, I'm able to have a much more natural, understated, fluffier looking brow with some beautiful, easy to do hair strokes at the front of the brow. Because it's that firmer, crisper formula, it keeps the lines crisp. I don't know anyone else who likes or uses this. I've never heard anyone else here on YouTube using it, but it is my absolute favourite brow pencil. And maybe if you were avoiding that brand because of the connotations with the previous owner, now you know that they are no longer involved, and if you wanted to give it a try, then you might feel like doing so. Next up, some underrated blushes, and these are from Patrick Tar. Now I feel like, you know, there were certain corners of YouTube who used these when they first came out, but I still do not feel that these have had the attention and the hype that they deserve. These are truly my all-time favourite blushes. I have 2 shades and I've been trying to get the 3rd one for months, but it's just not coming back into stock at Cult Beauty. I think, is it Sincere that looks like it will be too light for my skin tone, but I would love to get the 3rd one. This is She's Adorable, which is like a sort of apricot shade, and this is a more glowy finish. The thing about these blushes are they are so buildable, so you can use it light-handed or you can keep building, and they just build and build and build, and you can just build until you've got the look that you want. This is the shade She's Seductive, which is the deeper shade, more of a sort of mauvey brown shade, and this is more of a matte formula. I love the formula of these. They are just so silky. You can see She's Adorable, much lighter, more of that sort of peachy apricot shade, and then She's Sincere is this brown. This one has the most lovely luminosity to it. In the winter, it's my absolute favorite blush. This one I'm just loving at the moment. If I want a neutral, go-to, everyday, easy blush that will look perfect with any makeup look I'm using, this is the one I go for. I think they're so beautiful, and I just don't see people using them anymore. I don't know if that's just me, but I'm using these like every day of my life, pretty much. Not today, typically, of course not. But I absolutely love them. I think the packaging is glorious. I think the formula is amazing. You get 10.5 grams, which is a really generous amount, and a lovely size mirror in here. I just absolutely love everything I've tried from Patrick Ta, and I think in general his brand is a bit underrated, but particularly people are really sleeping on his blushes. They are just perfect. Next up, a very underrated lipstick formula, let's say, from a very much loved brand, and that is Charlotte Tilbury, and these are her Superstar Lips. Probably my favourite everyday lip formula of all time, and I feel like these are so slept on. I don't understand it. I've actually just ordered another one of these, so I will have 5. I just think you can't go wrong with these as far as like an everyday whack it on, the most comfortable hydrating formula that gives you like a gorgeous gloss but with a really good amount of colour. Now that shade I've just whacked on there is Happy Lips, which for some god awful reason was discontinued, and that is my favourite of the bunch. Please, for the love of God, Charlotte Tilbury, please bring Happy Lips back. I can't wear that lipstick without all of you guys saying, what have you got on your lips? Oh my goodness, what is that? Everybody wants it back. To me, it's the nicest shade there is. This is Glow Kiss, that really easygoing nude, and then this one is Confident Lips, and then I have Sexy Lips, which is the, again, if you're a bit more of a medium skin tone, is going to be your perfect everyday nude. They are the shiniest, glossiest, most comfortable wearing lipsticks. Perfect handbag, tiny little thin but beautiful packaging that you can get. I don't understand why everybody doesn't talk about them. I think they're just exactly what I want for every day. Perfect, natural, glossy, plumping, give you those really full, luscious lips without being like too much. You don't need a mirror, you can whack it on and you're good to go. Now, the next product I'm going to talk about is MAC's Ignite Wonder Face Palette, and this is a weird one. You're probably thinking, Charlotte, that came out like 2 years ago and we probably can't even get it anymore. What are you talking about? I think this is actually still available in lots of places. I saw it on Look Fantastic. It might not still be there now, but it was, you know, a few weeks ago. But I'm generally not just talking about this palette. So this was from one of MAC's collections. I think maybe the whole collection was called Light Wonder. The packaging is glorious. You get 6 different shades of highlight in there in the loveliest formula, very natural, all different shades that you can either use, you know, differently on your own skin, or if you're a makeup artist, we'll give you lots of options. But what I'm talking about as far as this being underrated, I didn't see anybody talking about or using this at all other than me on my channel. And I think it's MAC collections, these MAC collections in general, because one, they do too many of them. About 100 different MAC collections come out each year and people are tired of them. And 2, I think they get massively underrated because it's MAC. And I think MAC's actual kind of general whole collection has really fallen by the wayside. These highlights are so pretty And I think so many people miss out on these types of products. The bronzing collection from MAC, the lipstick in there is one of my favourites for summer. The bronzer is so nice and such a great price. The face glaze is something really unique and innovative, and the shadows are really nice as well. But I feel like people are so kind of over MAC, and you know, their like classic collection has not changed and moved on for so long, that when these collections come out that are actually their standout, their best products at the moment, people just aren't interested. People are like, oh no, it's MAC, we're not, you know, there's no hype around them. And actually there's some really great products in there. But I do, again, I think another issue that people have is because everything is limited edition all the time, and who wants to buy a bronzer that if they love it they can never get again? So I think MAC are definitely getting something wrong with their marketing and their strategy around their collections, which is meaning that people just overlook them. But this for me is one of my favourite highlight palettes. I absolutely love it. It's got options for every day. A couple of these down here can be used for blush on fairer skin tones because they're not super crazy as far as glow, but they're just soft and pretty. And I just think it's a shame that they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot by making their best products limited edition and nobody's really picking them up anymore. But these kind of collections from MAC are definitely, in my opinion, worth a look if you're looking for the kind of products that they're offering in those limited collections. Next up, the world's most underrated concealer, and this is Clinique's, what's it called? Beyond Perfecting Super Concealer. I think Clinique in general just has fallen off onto the wayside. I don't even know if it was on the wayside. I don't know if it's ever been on the wayside, but Clinique, as far as makeup, people just don't talk about it, generally use it. I think one of their foundations did fairly well. In fact, a few of their foundations have done fairly well. But other than that, you really don't see Clinique being used or talked about a lot. And this concealer is, to me, it's their best product and nobody talks about it. If you have mature skin, mature under eyes, you don't need a full or don't want a full coverage concealer. Maybe your under eye area is dry, things soak into lines. Maybe you just want a concealer that's going to give you a bit of coverage in your under eye area and you just want to dab it on with a finger. I implore you to try this one. It looks teeny tiny, which doesn't help it, but it does have like a standard amount. It's 8 grams in here, so it's a standard amount, in fact a fairly decent amount of concealer. You apply, it has a nozzle, which is perfect for those of you who are doe foot haters. You know, it's much more hygienic. You squeeze a bit out onto your finger and tap. You can control the amount that you use very easily. It's just very easygoing, light medium coverage, tap a bit out. It's not going to crease heavily, it's not going to be too cakey and thick and heavy or age your under eye area. It's nice and hydrating and light under there, perfect for mature skin, and I just don't know that anyone knows about it. Again, I personally struggle with Clinique's shades when it comes to foundation and concealer. Everything seems to run very pink or extremely yellow, so maybe that's why it's underrated. But if you can find a shade in this concealer that will work for you, it is well worth a try. I think it's absolutely hugely underrated, probably the most underrated product of all these ones that I've spoken about. And lastly but not leastly, this is the most underrated highlight of all time, and it's from Natasha Denona. This is the All Over Glow Face and Body Shimmer Powder. I have the shade Light number 1. This number 1, it is number 1, but number 1, it's huge. You get 10 grams of product. That's why it says it's an all over face and body highlight. So you get a lot in there for your money. This is what it looks like. Beautiful packaging, of course. But everybody talks about Natasha Denona's Super Glow, about her palettes, about her her cream glows. This is, to me, possibly the greatest glow that she does, that she has. It's just, if you are a lover of like the Hourglass Luminous Light or the YSL 3D Radiant, whatever that one's called, this is your type of highlighter. It's so soft and luminous and skin-like. There is not one fleck of glitter slash shimmer in here. It's shine and glow, and melts into the skin. It looks like light. It looks like you are so ridiculously healthy and hydrated. It's just oozing out of you. And it's just, you know, if you want an invisible highlight, as in you can't see where highlight starts and finishes, you don't want a stripe, you want something that's just going to melt in and look like it's literally coming from your pores with no glitter or shimmer or any emphasis of texture. Give this one a try. It just looks like my hand is just radiating light. It's so beautiful, and I don't see anybody ever using this, but it is glorious. It's just so pretty, and there are 3 shades. I wish there were more, because I think really this might now be a little light for me, but the second shade is probably too dark. So again, maybe that's why it's slightly underrated, because it needs more shades, but it is beautiful on the skin. So there you have it. Those are the 10 most underrated products that I have in my collection to share with you guys. Please, for goodness sakes, tell us what products you have that you think are massively underrated, that we don't know about, that we are sleeping on, that we are missing out on. Quickly, for the love of God. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.